Like many stars who become superstars, Barbra Streisand has had sharp words for the press. In a business where image is important, controlling your image becomes essential, and in that, Streisand has not always enjoyed the cooperation of the journalism community. NBC's Gene Shalit spoke with her about that in 1987.
Right now, here on Today, Barbra Streisand in one of her very rare TV appearances. When we were talking, I wondered if she felt the public really knows her.
No, they believe a lot of silly stories, you know. I even do that. I tend to read the newspaper and believe what I read.
But if you read a magazine or newspaper story about yourself and you know that it's full of untruths and non-facts, why do you believe what that same publication says about some other actress or actor?
It's the power of the printed word. It's very, very powerful. I go to the dentist, you know, about every 6 months to have my teeth cleaned. And while I'm waiting there to divert myself from, you know, what's going to happen. Actually, I like having my teeth cleaned. But I'm sitting there and I read these kind of picture magazines, you know, I pick them up and look at them. I'm trying to divert myself. The last thing I want to read about is myself, right? But on page 2, there's a story about how I'm doing a movie with Bobby De Niro and Sergio Leone. Now, I know these two people. I figured, why didn't they tell me about this movie? Now I go page 10, there's an article about a person who actually is a friend of mine's brother. And he invented some kind of a cocktail. Can I say that?
Yeah, but you can't spell it.
I can't spell it. Some crazy kind of bathtub, right?
He invented a bathtub?
He invented a bathtub that has a stereo system and I don't know what, all kinds of electronic gadgets in this tub, which I would be afraid of. You'd get electrocuted in the tub. Now, you know, I'm thinking to myself, oh, it costs $14,000. So I'm thinking, who are the crazies that are going to buy this bathtub? And I read on, and it says, among his celebrity customers are Barbra Streisand, Goldie Hawn, and Joanna Carson, right? How do you think this makes me feel? I'm being used to sell this guy's bathtub. I didn't even know my friend had a brother. And it's in this magazine, you know? Now, I mean, I even called up Goldie Hawn and Joanna Carson and said, do you have this bathtub? They never heard of what I was talking about. So,
are you paranoid?
I don't feel paranoid, I am paranoid, but it's also, a lot is based on the truth.
If you really speak your mind, don't you sometimes get in trouble?
Oh, yeah, that's what I love about this character in Nuts, you see. She speaks the truth and she gets into trouble. This is a girl who says exactly what she feels. And, you know, I identify with her because ever since I was a little kid, in the first grade and the second grade when I went to the Yeshiva of Brooklyn, I've always gotten high marks scholastically in academic subjects. But I got D in conduct because I just couldn't learn the rules about conduct. You know, I wasn't taught things like I used to sit at the table with my feet up. I didn't know you're supposed to put a napkin on your lap. My mother ate from a pot standing up at the kitchen stove. We never had set times for dinner like all the other kids, you know. They had to be home at 6. I didn't understand. Where were they going at 6? They sat down at a table. I didn't know from this, you know. I'm just learning about this now. But, so... Here, you know, it's even when I went to see, I'm jumping around a bit, but I went to see schizophrenics at hospitals.
As research for Nuts?
As research for Nuts, yeah. And I felt totally comfortable with them, with the kind of directness, with a kind of lack of social etiquette, you know, a kind of honesty that was just so engaging, so refreshing.
So you're attracted to the woman in Nuts because you would like to be such a person?
Well, I mean, I do say what I feel a lot of the time, and it does get me into trouble. I have opinions. I talk out of turn. You know, I think that I'm a nice person. I don't hurt people, but I do like to say what I think. And you get crucified for that, like she does in this picture.
Do you want to be liked?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, that's a good question. If you could assemble one-on-one everybody in the world who you cared about, and you could tell them something that you fervently wanted them to believe about yourself, what would you tell them?
That if they like my work, and if they feel something from my work, that I would hope that they would trust that in themselves, and that they know that doesn't come from a malicious spirit. Do you know what I mean?
But do we have a catch-22 here? A, Barbra Streisand, like all normal human beings, would like to be liked. B, she does not give interviews to the press, see the press knowing that she won't give an interview, gets angry, and therefore writes stuff that makes the people not like Barbara.
Oh, yeah. It is an absolute catch-22.
So why don't you talk to the press and get it over with?
Well, you know, I do, and I have, you know, but the last paper I gave an interview was my friend's son for his school newspaper. He's 10. I like that one. But the thing is, you know, I just can't bear the things taken out of context. I can't bear it. I go, and I don't know, I've never gotten used to it. You know, I've been in this business 25 years, Gene. I'm you know, an old broad already. But I can't fathom somebody not telling the truth.
If, heaven forbid, it came to a situation where you could either sing for the rest of your life or act, but you could not do both, which would you do?
You didn't say direct movies.
If there came a time in your life you could either sing, act, or direct movies, which would you give up?
Singing and acting.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You like directing movies the best?
Yeah.
No kidding. Is it because you are more in control of the whole project?
It's having a complete vision of something.
In films, you have twice won Academy Awards. On the stage, you won a Tony.
Oh,
yeah, you did. You got Evergreen and Funny Girl. Let's do Academy Awards.
Right.
Say research. Which of those meant the most to you at the time you won?
I think the Oscar for Evergreen.
Really? For the song?
Yeah. Because I'm known as an actress, as a singer, this and that, you know. Then I heard other people sing it and other people play it, and they played it at weddings and bar mitzvahs, and I thought, wow, you know, that was really a sense of accomplishment for me.
What's the craziest thing anybody ever wrote about you that was so far from the truth that to be utterly ridiculous?
Somebody said that in some book or other that was like a real gossipy book, you know, that I walked into a room one day and fired everybody on the left. You know, can you imagine this image? I mean, it's like you walk into a room and say, all right, everybody on the left is fired. I mean, it's so bizarre, you know?
You think you're misunderstood, don't you?
I know I'm misunderstood. What do you mean, think? Yeah.
Well, there's something that should not be misunderstood, and that is that Nuts is an extraordinary movie, and that your performance and Richard Dreyfuss' performance and the performance of that entire cast is first rate. And thank you for being with us. I know how comfortable you are sitting here.
You should fix your tie again because it fell down. You want me to do it for you?
That's better, Gene. Co-star Richard Dreyfuss on Barbra Streisand when Time and Again continues. When Barbra Streisand sat down with NBC's Gene Shalit for Today in November 1987, she was there to promote her new movie, Nuts. So was her co-star Richard Dreyfuss. Shalit asked Dreyfuss about Streisand.
We have talked, and many people have talked about Barbra Streisand, the woman who exists, and Barbra Streisand, whom we all think exists. So who's the Barbra Streisand you know, and how does it differ from these magazines she's been telling us about?
I'm putting a new addition on my house.
And how much you going for it?
A lot of
I'll put the sprinkler system in.
Okay. I have to floss. I'm late for my flossing.
That's a very difficult question. Maybe I shouldn't be here when
No, it'd be wonderful. I'd like to hear it. He's
this stuff.
Barbara is a case. She's very specific. I think if there is one thing that you can say is a common denominator to all movie stars, especially female movie stars from the time of the beginning of the motion picture business, is that they are, as opposed to the other actresses, they are definite. You can see a clear line around Katharine Hepburn's personality, and Bette Davis's personality, and Joan Crawford's personality, and Jean Arthur, and Barbra Streisand. That is what sets them apart and what makes them compelling for us to watch them. When you observe anything under close scrutiny, you can start to argue and say, well, I don't like that, and I don't like the way Hepburn is feisty or confrontive or whatever. And so people might argue with facets of Barbara's personality, or the personality that she gives off. But what Barbara is definite. And because she's a woman, we take issue with that in a greater degree than if she were a man. If she were a producer, star, / director of the male gender, we would accept all of her eccentricities in a much more forgiving, normal, unquestioning way. The fact that she is a woman brings all of those things out in very sharp relief. And that's why we're here, in a sense, discussing Barbara's personality, we wouldn't be discussing Marty Ritt's personality, or mine or yours. We would be discussing. That doesn't mean that I forgive her eccentricities, by the way.
That's right.
It just means that's the phenomena that we're discussing.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's outstanding.
That is very good.
Do you ever have to resort to a disguise when you go out?
When I was doing one part, I put on a blonde wig, and it was for a movie called All Night Long. And I went to a country and western bar to study the people in the valley in California, put on a blonde wig and ridiculous clothes and many jewels and all this, you know. And as soon as I walked in the door, I was, oh, hi, Barbara. I thought, I don't believe this. Now they think I have this, you know, lousy taste, too. Doesn't work.
Because before she walked in the bar, she checked the lighting for 2 hours.
No, I couldn't do anything about that. Funny, funny.
Now, you don't take umbrage at Richard when he kids you about that? I mean, she's a perfectionist, Richard. She wants to be...
Barbara's the hardest working person I've ever met in my life.
Oh, thank you. And I see, the thing is, I care as much about how he looks as how I look, or any other actor.
So how come he's in the dark the first 2/3 of... No.
He's making a joke, folks. It's a joke, folks. Don't believe
Good
that.
question. It was here. I'm Barbara. This is Richard. So, Your Honor. Your Honor.
I just want to make clear to the public that at no time during Nuts do you hold your hand in front of Richard Dreyfuss's face. Show how that would be had you done that. This is Barbra Streisand.
Why is that so familiar, though?
And Richard Dreyfuss. And I want to just tell everybody, Nuts not being a comedy is a brilliant motion picture, and you are both outstanding in it. Should be a lot of envelopes being opened.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.